Texas Motor Speedway. Everything's bigger in Texas, as they always say. And, of course, No Limits Texas is where we're at tonight. We're ready for the next round. There were 2 races remaining before the playoffs in the SNB Cup Series. The penultimate regular season event is tonight at Texas Motor Speedway. Hey, welcome to coverage. It's ready to roll here. The SNB Cup Series presented by Appalachian Hauler Hunters tonight on LSRTV. I am Wesley Outland in North Carolina, joined alongside in California. Definitely wishing he was on Californication right now. Not feeling under the weather for the last couple of days. Is my partner Samuel Dyer. Samuel, I hope you're at least up to doing some iRacing. We're gonna have fun here tonight in Texas, and of course in the production chair. Feeling sick, good or not, he's always ready to press the buttons and sniff super glue on his RC cars. It's Charles Wooten. So, do what? Samuel, we're already coming unglued and we ain't even dropping flag yet, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, but man, has it been a week for the SNB Cup Series. A lot of drivers being hit with COVID this week. I know Joshua Altus, he was dealing with it about 2 weeks ago, and then in this past week, Andrew Cootie found himself being positive with COVID, Matt Dyer being positive, and I'm still waiting for my test results to see if I got it or not, but a lot of drivers feeling under the weather coming into tonight's race, which is a very important race, second to last race of the regular season to see who's going to make the playoffs, and we're also missing some of our favorites to win the race, which makes this here at Texas a wide open shot for some of the drivers that are outside of the top 12 in points to lock themselves in, or if you're inside the top 12 and you're kind of close, you're going to have to find yourself putting yourself getting a lot more points here tonight, so you have a better buffer going into next week.
Well, we're ready to go with qualifying here for the SNB Cup Series. These drivers getting into place, getting ready to go. Obviously, this is crunch time, Samuel. Bottom line here, bud, this is crunch time. Let's take a look at the Race on Texas 411 as we get ready to go for, again, close to 200 miles or 250 miles tonight, a 30-minute practice session, a 2-lap qualifying, which is on course right now here at Texas, and then they'll go at it for 167 laps, which is basically a 250-mile race. If you think of the Truck Series, when they run here on Friday night for prelim night with NASCAR's here, basically 250 miles, 167 laps is the distance. Should be a good one here tonight.
Yeah, it should be a blast of a time for these guys. As also, we can take a look at our weather and see how that's looking, because the weather is hot here tonight, Wesley.
It is. Sawblade.com weather conditions, and by the way, the new Upper Edge Racing Series Steel Block Modifieds, sponsored by Sawblade.com, coming soon, October the 5th. On LSRTV and the Community Radio Network. It is temperature at 85 degrees, track temp 122. It says it's mostly cloudy, but that's hogwash. It's virtual sunshine out there.
I mean, it's cloudy enough where we actually just saw the track temp go down a degree, but those clouds, if they can somehow block the sun periodically here tonight, it's going to help the track temps and help these drivers. I was hearing from the drivers here that before we went live, the track is slick, but the setup they're using here tonight, pretty tight. So it's going to be snug. Drivers going to be working a lot here tonight. If it gets too tight into a longer run, might be finding yourself getting looser on coming out of the corners by putting too much wheel put in. And so tonight's going to be a lot of the drivers maintaining themselves and trying to stay focused after last week's extremely long race at Charlotte that went practically green all the way through. Only had one caution early on, but we're expecting a very similar race here tonight at Texas Marathon to see how these drivers are going to be able to handle themselves here tonight.
And speaking of the marathon, let's look at the point standings right now, where we'll just go over the point standings with you real quickly. Of course, Braxton DeWeese is the man out in front. He is leading the way. Matt Dyer is second in the point standings, but still looking for that first win. Could it possibly happen for him? He's being consistent. You look at drivers again on the ticker tonight that are in green. That is Braxton DeWeese, Tatum, Jacob Grant, Caleb Smith, and Thomas Fisher. Those guys have punched their ticket in to the playoffs. For everyone else, you know, you've got guys like Matt Dyer, Joshua Altus being affected by COVID symptoms. Matt Dyer, some drivers that are sick because of COVID, and honestly, you better hope you can use one of those drop races, because if not, Samuel, it's going to hurt you in a run for championship.
Yeah, I mean, that was the big thing about Dyer, is that he did have a drop race, so that's why he just took it here tonight. He was the reigning winner here at Texas from last season, so there was a lot of high hopes for Dyer to win here tonight. But with Dyer not here, gives an opening, and after, like every week, there's a practice race the day before. Logan Breakey won that one as the drivers are gridding up.
The field is gridded. We're ready to go. Let's give you your Team 126 Racing starting lineup here in Texas. On the pole, your Mountaineer Outfitters Fast Qualifier is going to be Jacob Grant. Jacob Grant in car number 52. Of course, coming off of a win last week at Charlotte, if you remember. To the outside, Tanner D. Johnson. There's the All-Tech Toyota number 11. He's ready to go. That's row one. Row on the grid will find Ross the Boss Tatum in the 21. He's already locked in the playoffs. To the outside, Rob Sherwood. DraftKings.com Chevrolet number 29. Row three, not feeling well a couple of weeks ago, Josh Altus, but he's ready to go in this race. And of course, with Matt Dyer not present, it could give him a chance to leach forward into second in the points. To the outside, back after a suspension, player one has entered the game. The 54 Toyota of Tom Bourne. Row four on the grid will find, of course, the 24 for Shadow Racing. For some reason, our ticker is showing us row one. That is Brockton Packard in the Charlotte 49ers. Number 24 machine out, of course, is Chevrolet from North Carolina. Row four, inside, number 2, Logan Breakey. And to round out your top 10, Spencer Best in the 20, Robbie Helms in the 18, as the field will begin to roll in a moment there, Sam.
And then row number 6, we're going to find that of Eric Stamp and Andrew Cootie, another driver that's dealing with himself some COVID symptoms and testing positive is Cootie in the 48. So expecting Cootie to he seems a little out of breath. He said he's just going to try to survive as much as possible. This is going to be his second marathon race. Dropping back to row number 7, that's when we find Pop-Up Smith, Chris Smith outside, and finishing out the rest of the field, going to be that of Caleb Smith and Zach Peterson. Some drivers of note that did not show up. That's going to be the A. Gardner, Kevin Martin. Those are the drivers 11th and 12th in points. With them not showing up, it's going to be a risky call for both of them. Luckily, Kevin Martin has a drop race, but oh man, this is going to be tough for both of those drivers not getting points here tonight.
Pace in the field behind the toe of the iRacing Ford Muscle Pace car. Now what would be his third win this year, 2 in a row, cut off the win last Wednesday night at Charlotte Motor Speedway on a wealth of momentum for the.
Yeah, Jacob Grant obviously always has the speed early on, and I'm wondering if he's going to have that race pace and also the consistency to come out. Probably my favorite here tonight.
It's no limits. It's Texas. 250 miles, 167 laps, and here come the virtual warlords of the SNB Cup Series. Here they come down to the line. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a virtual race. We're underway in the Lone Star State of iRacing, Texas. They storm off into turn 1. Give Johnson the whole shot on the outside lane. Trouble in the back. You saw it on our Kicking the Asphalt segment. Car in the back of the pack spinning around. The yellow will come out. Just as quickly as things started, we will take a look at our Pulse Poppers instant replay. Samuel Dyer, yellow flag, just 2 laps in here at Texas.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing it in the back. You're going to see the 55 and the 48 making some contact on the entry of turn 1. That's going to be Chris Smith, just Andrew Cootie, and spinning the 48 around. Luckily, no one else involved, and also Cootie did not hit the wall, so there's the positives. But an early wreck coming here early, kind of similar to, not as big as it was last week, but an early wreck like last week.
Andrew Cootie in the Lamar Energy Solar for 48 machine. Normally we see him in the Ally Financial colors of Jimmy Johnson. Caution out. We're in the going. I don't expect anybody to come down to the pit lane. Whoa, check that. Oh, the leader came in. Ross Tatum, psych everyone. Jacob Grant and Packard and the rest of the cavalry behind them, about a dozen cars or more, come to the pit lane. This is very, very unscheduled. I didn't think this would happen, Samuel.
No, not at all. And I'm wondering if they're just going to come in for fuel or if we're going to see anyone try to risk it for tires. It seems a little bit too early for tires, but hey, why not? Come in and pack yourself full of fuel. It's a smaller field than what we've been seeing for most of the season. And exactly what I was expecting. Everyone coming in, topping off with fuel and leading the charge out. Going to be that of Rob Schrader.
7 cars, back with more in a moment from Texas with the SNB Cup Series after a word from Appalachian Hauler Hunters.
Look at that. Look how wide that deer is. Appalachian Hauler Hunters. Yeah. Oh my God. He's down. He's down. Hold him up first, huh? Can you hold him up? Son, what do you think about that? Give me some skin, buddy. Excited? After me.
We are having some internet technical difficulties. We are aware of that, so people, please don't freak out. Comment all in the chat box. We're hard at work trying to assess that, which is just one. Charles Wooten. Welcome back. Caution out. One of the things I love about Texas, Samuel, and it's up against the catch fence. That's real. They do that. I think it's cool as hell.
Yeah, it's a great way to let the whole entire field and also the audience know, hey, we're under yellow, and it's just catches your eye, and it helps everyone out to know, hey, it's time to slow down when there is some carnage out on the field.
So we are under the caution flag at Andrew Cootie that went around after contact with Mr. Billy Smith. We reset them again to go for a restart when we can. As the caution is about to be rescinded, and we'll get ready to go back to green flag conditions here in just a moment.
Oh, yeah, there's a ton. As I believe
Chris Smith. I said Billy Smith. My apologies. I was thinking about a clown. Chris Smith is who I was referring to. My bad.
This field and also the laps, as we thought it was going to be 167 laps, turns out 174 laps for the drivers here tonight, so extending the amount of laps by about 8, so giving us a shot to see a little bit more racing with this early wreck, kind of putting us back in that window where we thought initially this race was going to be for 167 laps.
So the race is actually 174 instead of 167?
That's what I'm seeing.
Wow. So, damn it, I got to do math again here now. So I got to do math. Making me pull out my calculator.
That's why I always have my phone next to me. It's whenever I need to calculate.
174 divided by 1.5. Okay, I'm understanding that we are still having some broadcasting streamer issues. If we have this continue, watch it go caution free the rest of the way. We will kill the stream and reset it to make an adjustment if need be. But for right, hopefully it will clear up. So, yeah. So 100 and what'd you say? 74 laps.
74 laps.
74 times 1.5. That is 200.
Given
somehow or another, they've added on more laps than we were expecting. I thought it was 167 laps, which is the equivalent of 250 miles. I was overruled. We're ready. Pace car onto the pit lane, ready for the restart. It'll be Ross Tatum ready to send it off the green flag. Tanner Johnson up on the outside. Here they come to the line. Green flag goes back in the air. Coca-Cola right now for the boss. He sends it to turn one. Here comes Tom Bourne back in the saddle again. After a suspension, he sits in second. Johnson third. They roar to the back.
I mean, we're seeing two drivers back, Tom, after suspension. Tanner Johnson after just taking a little bit of a hiatus for himself for about a month and a half. It's good to see the 11 back in the driver's seat. I know he now running well in third position.
Watching them go back across start-finish line, back into the corner, into turn number one. And it's Ross Tatum leading the way. Still a lot of racing here left to go. Tom Bourne second, Johnson third. There goes Johnson down to the inside. Looking at that machine of Tom Bourne. Tom Bourne got in a little bit of trouble. Road course race not too long ago, and in doing so, he suffered a suspension after getting a little payback on Tom Fish.
Yeah, now he's starting to show a little bit of pace on the entry of turn one, but the exit of turn three, we're seeing Ross Tatum on the exit of these corners just has the better launch. Don't throw in the entry, but certainly he's getting back to the throttle sooner than everyone else. And Ross Tatum showed in those first about 2 laps, he was willing to be aggressive and get himself out. Having that fresh air so important for the 21.
Patience is a virtue. Still a long way to go. And honestly, when you are sent to the principal's office or you have to sit out something that you love, I think you have a newfound you appreciate it a lot more. And it's good to see Tom Bourne now in that second spot. We talked about it. In a hole, Samuel. If he can win this race, that puts him back in a chance to try to go to the playoffs. But he's got to win the race, though.
Yeah, both Tom Bourne and Andrew Cootie are both in pretty similar situations, both of them outside of the top 20. So even if they get a win and they are still outside of the top 20 in points, they need to then get in the league because that win and you're in only counts if you're in the top 20 of points. And there was a revamp to the rule book. Initially, it was you had to show up for 10 races counted for the playoffs for that win to count. They actually revamped it because of some of the issues that were going on this season and have moved out to where the drivers races now can move on to the playoffs if they get a win. As drivers up front, they're racing hard, single filed out, but it's side-by-side racing back in around 5th position. Well, as we're seeing that of Evan Coleman, Logan Brakey making a move for themselves. And now going to be seeing that of Spencer Best stuck on the high line, pushing back that of Brockton Packard. 24/7 issues as Cootie gets into the grass, a little bit of a tap to the 24, but they hold on straight going through the front stretch. There's a lot of worrying going on for these drivers. Don't want to get themselves caught up into a mess too soon. They do have a fast repair for themselves if needed in pit road, but you don't want to use it this early on in a race. It's on into the inside wall. Yellow number 2 comes out and oh no, hard contact as we just saw that instant replay. Wesley has dropped out for a second. We're hoping to get him back here shortly. But here is the instant replay of the mess that go on as you had that of Sherwood trying to nest and finds himself being the victim on the inside. So you can see drivers just getting too close to the outside wall. Brockton Packard doing his best to stay up there and bouncing off the wood of the 29, bringing out our second caution of the day here in Texas. And thought we were going to have a similar incident of drivers having that quick caution like we did last week and then a long green flag run. We saw drivers getting a little bit too antsy, too aggressive, and that tightness coming in for themselves. As we have been noting, we're having some issues with our feed, but we're going to take a quick break. We're going to cut this stream down, but we'll be right back, and hopefully we'll fix the issues. We'll be right back in a few. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the SNB Cup Series. As we hope that the reset helped us out here, but stops were underway. Some drivers going with tires, others just going with fuel still. And some of the drivers actually pitted under our first yellow came in once again. But drivers that went with tires, Rob Sherwood getting himself some tires and some other repairs for himself, as well as looks like Brockton Packard going to manually repair some of that damage that he got from bouncing off the wall and on on to Rob. Back, yellow number 2 coming out with Brockton Packard into the outside wall, bouncing into Rob Sherwood, who came screaming through the inside wall, bounced back up onto the racing surface. 15 laps in, and it's going to be Josh Altus, top of the board currently. Is Wesley still trying to get his Josh Altus, Zach Peterson, Ross Tatum, Tom Bourne, and Evan Coleman going to be your top 5 currently here for the SNB Cup Series. This is the second to last race before playoffs come around for these drivers. A lot of pressure on a lot of these drivers, as we only have a few drivers that have actually won so far this season that are locked in. Caleb Smith and of Jacob Grant. Those are the 3 drivers that have already won this season. We're missing Thomas Fisher and Braxton DeWeese. For Thomas Fisher, we weren't really given a notice on why he didn't show up, but for Braxton DeWeese, he moved into college. He doesn't have internet at the moment. That's why he could not show up for tonight's race. Getting prepared for college here for himself. He's got the most wins with 5, so he was securely in his position to be moving on to the next round. 3 spots that need to get points. That of Zach Peterson, Evan Coleman, and as well as Tom Bourne. They're in the spots where they need to get points outside of the top 12. And other drivers that are outside the top 12, that of Cootie, he's going to need some points, as well as Spencer Best, as I think we got some things set up. Wesley is back. Wesley, we're still under pacing for our second caution.
Man, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if it's on Charles' end or my end. All of a sudden, my internet just crashed as well. I think Charles sent a damn virus or something to my computer, gave me some bad mojo or something. So I don't know.
Well, we fixed one issue and then it brought up a different one. That's how tonight.
I'm back though. I'm back in the saddle again. Can't keep a good man down. As they say, you can't keep a good man down, like a song, like this song. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, we're back live again on something else, so we had to change things up, move things around. Oh well, we're back live. It's all good.
We're back, about to get restarted. Second caution. And Josh Altus now on top of the leaderboards. Did not pit under this yellow, so we're going to be seeing, luckily everyone did not take tires. The only drivers that have taken tires would that be of Rob Sherwood, who's back and climbed through the field with himself with having about 15 lap fresher tires than everyone else.
This is again the final race that starts next week. Next week is and Katie bar the door. Samuel, that's going to be a wild one to determine the playoffs.
Oh,
for sure.
Madness as the pace car pulls off. I don't know who thought of Daytona being the last race, but it is going to be a good one.
We've thought of everything here, and we're ready. Green flag goes back in the air, back for the restart. Off into the corner, Joshua Alts. Not feeling well the last couple of weeks, being COVID-related symptoms, but he is sitting in that number 1. Samuel, your brother, Matt Dyer, he has COVID symptoms. He's not able to be with them well. I know you've not been feeling under the weather yourself. He is number 3 in the not here, possibly going to bump up to number 2. But if Altus can win, playoff ticket into the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the points for Altus, all he really needed to do was show up for today's race, and he would automatically just practically lock himself in points-wise. Going to the drivers that came into this week, such as Logan Brakey, Altus, also Rob Sherwood, all they needed to do was just show up, and they were feeling pretty much locked in to the playoffs points. A lot more comfortable for themselves knowing that they were able to show up here tonight. But with Christian Gardner and Kevin Martin not showing up, it gives an opening for those final 2 spots on who's going to be trying to take it, as we know a lot of drivers are feeling comfortable for themselves. They need to get those points.
Understanding on communication, Tom Bean. Computer issues, server issues. Man, it might be happening to everybody tonight.
It's just one of those nights. You just never know when drivers, sometimes it's a complete collective. I mean, for SNB Cup Series, everyone's decided to get COVID for some reason. And now tonight, everyone's decided to have internet issues. Ross Tatum and Tom Bourne, they were almost inside of one another.
They were inside one another. What are you talking about? It was right there. They were definitely discussing dinner plans and more. that spot. Move him up now. Alting Peterson. How about Zachary Peterson? What a run for that guy in the 96 car, Samuel. No, right now.
Yeah, Zachary Peterson, one of the drivers as well for Tanner Johnson. They're kind of in a must-win scenario, but for Zachary Peterson, a great run currently. His best finish was 4th, and right now doing a great job in 2nd place. And for Zach Peterson, he's shown that he's got some pace to be up front, but it's that luck been there. Now being pressured by Tom Bourne, pushing up the 96 to the high line, and Grant was thinking the same.
Thought about it. Grant down is a little peak, a little deceived for not. And he goes down into that corner. Now after Peterson back to 3rd. Grant will clear him. Tatum, Sherwood now in the top 5. Battle for the lead to the game after P1 Altus in turn 1.
Got the internet sorted out, and now the 54 trying to make a push to the front. Also got to watch out for Rob Sherwood. He's got the freshest tires than everyone else, and he went from 15th up to 4th place. The 29 wants to get the lead quick here.
Looking for that top spot. Work their way back across here. Altus leading this race again. And is 174 laps. It was scheduled in 67. They bumped up another 10 miles and 60 miles. Altus is leading. Tom Bourne in 2nd, 3rd. Down the back straightaway they go. Everyone else single file, and Joshua Altus in that spot. You've got him trying to win a race. He hasn't won since. You have, of course, the driver. Joshua Altus. You have then, Tom Bourne coming from a suspension a couple of weeks ago, trying to redeem himself. Right there in the cat's whisker. And look at Rob Sherwood. For the lead on Altus, door to door as they go to turn 3.
Oh man, Rob Sherwood showing how important having fresh tires is over the rest of the lead almost instantly. Took him about 6 laps, but from 15th to the point, he has done it. Rob Sherwood, now his goal to continue to pull away as the battling for Jacob Grant getting underneath Tom Bourne, making the pass for 3rd. And now we keep our eyes out. When will the field think about pitting here? Thinking about the track has been, tires have to be a factor on when drivers are going to be thinking about pitting for themselves. Most likely anywhere from 30 to 35. You would think drivers would come into pit road, but because of the pit stops that have come out, we're looking around lap 40 to 45 when we're expecting these drivers coming into pit road.
I wonder if it's too early right now to try to make that attempt to come down to the pit lane.
I mean, it's one of those things where the drivers are going to have to pick and choose. I know, well, for Zach Peterson, both of them stayed out. They're on similar tires as the rest of the field, but fuel-wise, they can only go maybe for another 10 to 15 more laps before they're going to it out a little bit further than that. But it's going to be a very close window when the drivers are going to be thinking about pit stops. Maybe some drivers that pitted 50 to 60 if they are in complete save mode early on, but we saw, last week at Charlotte, drivers trying a lot of different strategies out of, Dyer tried his strategy out of saving as much as he could, cut away a complete pit stop, while the rest of the field, they just went with go as hard as you can. And it would seem like it was the drivers that were aggressive, that were being and running as hard as they could, and really weren't saving, that succeeded last week. I'm expecting a very similar thing of drivers that are aggressive.
About to approach lap number 40 this time by. When they come back to, apologies, we're about to approach lap number 30. Can you drop me down to 480, please, in the production? If you, Sherwood still leads the way. Altus in 2nd, Grant 3rd. Better, lap 31 now is what we're on. Followed by Bourne, Tatum, there's your top 5. Peterson, Brakey. Problems on the start of the race has moved in to the top 10 as well. And 8th, Coleman is 9th, and Johnson is currently in the top 10.
And finishing out the rest of the field, you got Eric Stamp, Caleb Spencer Best in 14th. Robbie Helms in 15th. Papa Smith going to be in 16th. But the driver that I'm looking at is driver in 17th place, coming in late. Right now, 2 laps down. That's Keenan Massey. Massey comes into this race 14th in points and only about 6 points out of that of Kevin Martin. So unlapped, run better than Robbie Helms and Brockton Packard and Evan Coleman. Evan Coleman could be finding himself being inside of the top 12, going in and out, and needing cautions to unlap himself. It is going to be a long day for himself, as here's Evan Coleman, the 51, one of the drivers that's 16th in points, top 12, with Christian Gardner, Kevin Martin not showing up. Now Evan Coleman's eyes have to be on Brockton Packard, Keenan Massey, Robbie Helms, and making sure he's ahead of those drivers. So he's
side by side. There goes Grant and Bourne. This is for third spot. Remember, the drivers that are in green, they are the drivers that have punched their ticket, if you will, into the playoffs. And the clock is ticking. Night, Texas. Next week, Talladega playoffs begin for the opportunity for drivers to run towards a championship. Jackson Luis, the defending champion, the all-time winner, said he will go again as it again now, the 29, Rob Sherwood leading the cavalry back into that first turn. Grant, again, along with, we were mentioning Brakey, Coleman, even Cootie, drivers that normally struggle, having good runs so far here in Texas in the early going.
Yeah, I mean, for Logan Brakey, I mean, what a race it's been for him so far. He's been one of the more consistent drivers that have not gotten 3 top 5s, 8 top 10s. His best finish is second, which he's done a couple of times. And Logan feels like he's got a lot of excitement coming into today after this race. Logan was one of the top 3 of the fastest cars during the practice, and then actually won the practice race that they ran. So for this too, run for themselves here tonight, but it's all about how well can you get up front and how consistent can you be, as Logan Brakey is still running in 7th place.
Rob Sherwood out in front. Again, Altus in that second spot there. You see those 2 cars battling for the goes up on the outside lane, down to the inside. Make a run in on the 94. Patiently is Tom Bourne. He's in 4th. Getting shafted in the All-Star race at Nashville. Kind of on a clinic to want to get back to victory lane as well, but honestly, punched your ticket into the playoffs. When does the aggressive level not need to be, Samuel? Obviously, I know the mindset, want to win, you want to keep winning, but obviously you want to kind of, hey man, maybe there's a friend out, the guy you've seen that's been struggling, and you want to let them have their chance to go to the playoffs. As a driver yourself, as well as
always be up front, always battle for the lead. That is the mind of a driver, is make sure that you win almost every race that you're out there for. Unless there's a team order that says, hey, we're going to help the whole team as a whole and help this driver get into the playoffs. It's kind of a driver's race on how well you can carry on for yourself. And for Ross Tatum, he's got the speed to be one of the drivers to win, but his pitch strat of recent days, I mean, you thought the All-Star race, he could have gotten a win there, but even before the All-Star race at Indy, the 21 had his issues of being too fast, having a poor pitch strategy that cost him a win at Indy. And then these last couple of weeks, it's been pitch strategies that have bit the 21 and has hurt him recently. So if he can clean up his pitch strategies, have a lot better ones where he's in, Tatum certainly is one of the drivers that we're expecting to challenge for a championship once we get to the playoffs.
40 laps in at Texas, your saw blade top 5 on the top left. There they are. Rob Sherwood looking to punch his ticket playoffs. With just 2 races remaining, he is right now solid in the Lone Star State. TV, your home for sim racing.
Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, right? Our Ram trucks, truck of the year, amazing trucks. We have fun Jeeps, and then the exciting Dodge and Chrysler product. There, lots of excitement there. They've done a great job in really creating a full scope product line that could suit everybody's needs, or a utility type vehicle or a big truck. We've got it all for our customers.
Competition caution here in the less than 10 laps from now as well. 8 drivers given 6 sets of tires, 5 Having the pits plus the set that they started the race on. Fuel window is between 40 to 43 laps. Are they waiting in possum before they come to the pit lane? Some cars might not have pitted. We saw that in the last couple of cautions. We see them pit now. We're on lap 43 or 50.
I mean, I think for that of Joshua Alsis and also for that of Zach Peterson, they pitted on that first caution. So, and with the pacing that they had for the second caution, they should be good to be pitting during that second caution. Knew they were good to make it to that comp caution on lap 50. So the drivers are feeling comfortable and confident as they're getting a race 50. As excitement is certainly in the air. As Wesley, there's a little bit of feedback. As we're gonna hope that Wesley can get his mic figured out. Drivers racing around here, still got ourselves 6 laps, which currently right now, Rob Sherwood, understanding that track position, so important with the fact of dirty air. When you're riding behind someone, when you're entering these corners, it can get a little bit more tighter on the entry of these corners and could cause more wear and harder to make passes. As Rob Sherwood still in the lead for the 29, expecting their comp caution again. Everyone should be good to be making it to the end of that, as we do have Wesley back.
Yes, 5 more laps to go before that competition caution. Remember the pit lane with Tom Bourne and, of course, Ross Tatum. Logan Brakey also with a decent run right now, just kind of staying out of harm's way. Everyone's single file. Couple of caution flags to open up the opening 50 laps. And when the yellow flag does come out, there'll be less than 125 laps to go. 174 laps to distance. 200 in Talladega next week. Should be a wild one. Punch your ticket into the playoffs. Right now, we know drivers that are going in to the playoffs are those drivers that are 2 races to go. And of course, we want to mention the 46 of Kevin Martin, Robbie Helms, Mason or Massey's car, the driver of the 4 of Keenan Massey, 24 Brockton Packard, Evan Coleman. They are so matter is if you can win. And we've already seen 5 drivers do that. You punch your ticket into the obviously Thomas Fisher is not ran enough races, or he not intended to run playoffs, so therefore he is not one of those drivers that'll be racing for a championship coming up in the playoffs coming soon.
Yeah, looking at the field, our comp caution is waving, and the rest of the field, they got to be feeling comfortable that a lot of them still are going to have 4 sets of tires to work with once they make this pit stop of comp caution. But Sherwood, he's going to be starting the rest of this race with only 3 sets to work with. He's going to be on the back foot, but hoping that this race kind of goes green like it did. If it does stay green, hey, this 29 is looking good to get his first win this season.
Yeah, my apologies. I had a squirrel moment. I don't know what I was thinking, but Thomas Fisher is in the top 20 in the points. He is 11th. So, yeah, he has punched his opposite. Bottom line, drivers with wins are going. That includes Braxton DeWeese, Ross Tatum, Grant, Caleb Smith, Caleb Smith, and Thomas Fisher not here tonight. Definitely keep an eye on them. Those other the drivers we mentioned, they're there. They're doing good so far. Everybody, I believe, Samuel is coming down to the pit lane. Here comes the cavalry behind the pace car. The DraftKings will lead them. Sherwood, Altis, Grant, Bourne, Tatum, they're all coming down to the pit lane in the first competition.
One driver you're seeing off screen still on track, that's Keenan Massey, who is loving this comp caution. Now going to be leaving him 1 lap down with the lucky dog spot. The 4 gets here. The 4 could be finding himself back on the lead lap and a shot to gain some massive points that are needed, especially with Christian Gardner and Kevin Martin not showing up. 11th and 12th in points, and with them not showing up, it could actually knock both of them out of the playoff top 12. Yeah. So massive playoff implications here in the last couple of races of the regular season.
Race off pit road in first, out first, Rob Sherwood. Running start when we return from Texas Motor Speedway. This is the SNB Cup Series presented by Appalachian Hauler Hunters on your home for sim racing, LSRTV.
Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, right? Our Ram trucks, truck of the year, amazing trucks. We Dodge and Chrysler products. Lots of performance there, lots of excitement there. They've done a great job in really creating a full scope product, whether it's a family vehicle or a fun vehicle or a utility type vehicle or a big truck. We've got it all for our customers.
Back here at Texas, Samuel in Wesley here with you. We're at Texas Motor Speedway. Charles Winterberg, induction chair. The lights are going to go off on the page, and we are going to get ready for the restart. Well, Samuel, we were talking about playoff implications and the drivers that you mentioned outside. Kevin Martin not here tonight. Keaton Massey struggling. Brockton Packard having a decent woman. Chris Smith, believe it or not, he's being in the top 20. Zachary Peterson, the best of the field, along with that could do well by virtue of position and points to get into the playoffs in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and those are the top 20 that are running well. Tom Bourne, who was looking to try to get himself a win and lock himself in, as his goal is to beat out that of Tanner Johnson. With Tanner Johnson, I mean, he missed out on the last about 3 races. He could have been one of the drivers automatically battling inside of the top 12 of points initially, and also dealing with COVID symptoms, doing his best out there. Andrew Cootie, I know that this isn't the way that he wants to try to gain as many points as possible.
5 drivers are winners this season in the regular season. Braxton DeWeese with a race plus 5-point wins. He's the all-time win P1. Ross Tatum with 2 wins on the year. Jacob with 2. Winner at Indianapolis and last week at Charlotte. Caleb Smith also has a win, and Thomas Fisher as well. And back to the restart zone for 4. Ready for this field to take the green flag, and we are going to go another lap under caution, it looks like. I thought we were off, and the lights are off on the pace car. We will try it this time to go back to green, Samuel.
Yeah, just make sure everyone is stacked up. Drivers of note, Chris Smith, also Robbie Helms, back in 15th and 16th place, had to stay in a little bit longer in their pit stall to get repairs done for both of those machines. So for Robbie Helms, this looked to be poising himself to get a lot of points, possibly be challenging to get in our top 12 position points-wise, but he's going to need a better running for himself. We might have to be in a must-win going into next week. Daytona is going to be a madhouse of drivers trying to set themselves up to get a win and get in next week for anyone that's outside the top 12 in points.
All right, we'll settle this in here now. As the field will make their way back, a restart zone. Pace car is now in. Here they come. Back. Auto parts restart zone. My apologies. Green flag back in the air. Back to racing. Rob Sherwood, Jake Grant on the outside. Green flag with Altus and Tatum and break. Top 3 begin to break away from the other 2 in turn 1.
Going to be that Logan Brake. He was just going to linger back and forth position, but here comes Altus, head of a steam for the 94 on the inside. Going to be side by side with himself and Rob Sherwood. Sherwood, though, better launch into the entry of turn 3. The single file for a front 2 was that of Jacob Grant, stuck to the high side as here comes the 2.
Here they come, settling across the start-finish line. Logan Brake is there, followed by Grant. You see Peterson, Tatum battling. Decent run so far for those trucks, those cars. Truck racing tonight, by the way. Truck racing at Circuit Gil Villeneuve. Coming up here later this evening, coverage of the outdoor cast iron cooking 100 for the trucks will be at 8:25. It's 11:25 Eastern, 8:25 Pacific on LSRTV and on CRN, the Community Radio Network. We go road course racing in Montreal, Canada. Circuit Gil Villeneuve. Samuel, I think you're going to be joining me on the call for that race, my friend.
Yeah, there's a shot that'll be up in the call. We're still waiting on the logistics of it, but most likely, yeah, I'll be in the call to call some trucks at Montreal. Usually you see F1 cars there, but you get to see what the trucks are like. Got to see what the Cup cars were like back on Monday, and I got to miss that race. But Wesley, I would imagine it was probably a treat as the rookie coming out of turn number 2. Drivers contact, massive collision. Evan Coleman, Ross Tatum, as well as the 12 and more others continue to pile after that.
Caleb Smith, we had already mentioned him struggling being in the back, and now, obviously, you know you're glad you're a winner on the series this year because this might be a mulligan for you. Watch the replay here. Ross Tatum, I think it started with the Peterson down to the left rear. He hooked him going into 2, and that sent him around, and then Caleb Smith nowhere to him from the rear. Then he gets damaged from the front. Then the other cars get collected.
Yeah, and those other cars was Tanner Johnson just throwing his car to the outside and not recognizing that Eric Stamp was there. So collecting Eric Stamp, who he was in complete safety, close to the outside wall, but the 11 making contact with him. Heavy damage for about 6-7 drivers of our field. And luckily, there is a fast repair if damage for me to continue on with. They do have a fast repair for themselves, but you really don't want to use your fast repair this early on, maybe around halfway or after halfway, or never using it. But that is a hard contact as Josh Altus, he'll be coming into the pits, going to be topping off with fuel.
And so is Tom Bourne. Player 1 right behind him as well. The 5th is Tanner Johnson, as well as Ross Tatum. Tatum halfway in his pit box. You'll see him just took his repair guy. His car back fixed again like a Band-Aid. Ready to go. So if you remember, these drivers are giving 1 fast repair per vehicle. Your car gets severely damaged or it has to be in. You're allowed to use 1 fast repair. That fast repair makes your car good as new. But after that, whatever goes down from there is whatever the outcome will be.
Yeah, if you get any damage after that point of using your fast repair, you're going to have to come into pit road, and it matters on how hard you've hit. You have to sit in your pit box and get that damage repaired, which could costly on time, losing positions. Also, your car's damaged, as well as if you have too much damage, you can actually get this. You have to sit in pit road for that amount of time, and then there's optional repairs where you actually don't have to sit there for that whole entire time. You can get as much repairs done as you want, and then take off whenever you feel.
Big Series is on the internet, the World Wide Web. www.snbcupseries.com. They're also on Facebook. Check out livesimracing.com, at LSRTV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Same thing with to either be a producer or a broadcaster. LSRTV is looking for you in that field of esports. Message us on Facebook or at livesimracing.com for sure. And did I hear Caleb Smith was in the broadcast booth the other night?
Oh, Caleb Smith's he's trying to get himself into the booth. I know that for sure. I know there's a couple of guys that would love to be in the booth.
In for me Friday for LTAC is what I'm asking. Who was it?
We had Chris White who came in. Chris White who runs
Chris White
with the Northwest. He did a great job up there as we were watching Las Vegas action, which came out to be some drama there as drivers are getting set up for the LTAC. Drivers are always dramatic and unknown on what's going to.
Did somebody spill the beans, Samuel?
There was a little bit of bean spillage.
In the words of Carlos Acosta production there. So I'll be able to join you again Friday night. I was actually traveling last week to hot, sultry, humid obligations, but I believe my schedule is Saturday. So Saturday and Sunday. So if I can join you, and if I remember correctly, are we at Talladega?
Going to Homestead to finish out the round of 10, where we're going to be figuring out our championship 6 drivers that are going to be challenging for a 3-race stint, which that's going to be Daytona,
I knew it was
Iowa.
An elimination race. I knew that much. I knew it was an elimination race.
Yeah, LTAC, there were some drivers that had gotten disqualified, removed from the league. So if you want to see that drama, go check out the LTAC Las Vegas race. It was a wild night for the LTAC Cup guys. Go check here with SNB Cup drivers.
Oh, I am, believe me. And you know what? Vegas is one of those races as the lights are off on the pace car. We get ready for the...
Yeah, it's one of those coin tosses tracks where because of pack racing, drivers, if they get a little bit too antsy, they find themselves being a little bit too aggressive, driving over their heads and causing some carnage, which that's what happened this past Friday, of drivers just driving a little bit over their heads with a setup that felt a little bit too snug, too good, too perfect, and it caused a lot of wrecks.
Working the restart on 11 will be halfway here at Texas. Field comes back to the O'Reilly Auto Parts restart zone. Sherwood gets the jump. Green flag is back out. Two-car link, Brakey and Packard. That's for third. We're back underway into turn one.
This is great to see Packard running up front for himself and charge for the 48. Another one of those drivers like Tom Bourne outside of the top 20 in points. Needs to get a win as well as get himself into the top 20. As right behind them, Tom Bourne, Spencer Best gets the little loose out of the corner.
They're tracking it there for a moment, into the grass. He'll save it. Spencer Best losing ground. Behind Tom Bourne. Bourne with more ink and blinking nod issues, flashing straight away. He's behind.
More drivers slashing and dicing behind. Spencer Best doing his best out there, as well as Caleb Smith. Drivers that were involved in that lap to get into the top 5, but we're watching Brockton Packard. He was in the top 5 for a second, but we're just seeing that inside line. It just, the longer the run goes on, the more your tires get heat up. You want to run momentum. As speaking of momentum, watch out for the 54. As long as he's not blinking, he's moving forward. Here's a battle for the lead. Here comes Jacob Grant.
So far, okay. Back across the start-finish line. There you see it. Sherwood leading. There's Grant. Grant's behind him. He just passed him for the lead. Right there is Brakey. What a run for the two-car, might I add. How about it? An attaboy for that driver. They're thinking about it. Going for it. Sending it in the corner. Look out. Bourne in the middle. There's all in that mix. Cody is there. Ready to go is also Caleb
Smith coming with a head of steam for himself. He's got that fresh rubber, and he's making a great charge. Ross Tatum on that last caution came in, took tires. So we got then our leaders. So expecting the 21 to make a charge for himself, as well as Tom Bourne, Altus, and Caleb Smith. They're all on similar strategies, trying to make this difficult for the drivers around 5th place. With Tom Bourne blinking, it makes it to where you have to let off your gas when you're not sure where the 54 is.
Inkin blinking nod on the 54 of Tom Bourne. He'll hold it. He'll save his position. That goes on. Look at this battle for the lead. It is brewing. 20 laps to the halfway marker. 100 laps the distance.
Logan
Close to 100 plus laps to go. Here they back to the line. Going back to turn one on the whole shot.
Logan Brakey, he won the practice race yesterday, and when you win a practice race the day before at the same track with similar drivers around you, you just Sherwood, fresh rubber, 3 wide as they head into turn number 3.
Back to 1 and 2, up the racetrack, look at, and Tatum back in the battle as well. Caleb Smith, who got caught up in the accident, a quiet night for the red, white, and blue number 12 car. He now it down in the top 10 behind Tom Bourne. And while that goes on, look at Altus right there. A little punt in the pants on the outside lane. Gives him a middle. Whoa, a little wiggle and a jiggle and a giggle and a bobble. Down into the third turn. Brakey throws the block in front of Altus. What a great piece of driving they just made.
Most difficult drivers to get by. Just made a defensive move that is going to be putting them in a lot of drivers' misfortunes. But it helps out the 20. Helps out the 2. Sherwood. But Logan Brakey, he has put the pressure on. And for 5th place, they're 3 wide once again.
3 wide again as they work away to the back straightaway. They're trying to go for a double cheeseburger. Here comes now also a move by Cootie. Cootie falls back behind Bourne. Altus powers alongside the machine of Bollywood and Smith. Great racing going on as they send it back to turn 1. Smith down to the inside.
That's a very risky move by Smith. He was bump drafting that Tom Born shot as they're going to be sending it once again. Just the drivers on the inside. They seem to get a better launch through the center of 3 and 4 when they're side by side like so, and to get a little bit of a deep breath. But you know they're going to go right back to attacking one another as here comes Tom Born on Caleb Smith.
Tom Born back down to the inside. He'll send it down into turn 1. He'll clear the machine of Smith's car, also falling back to those clutches of the 54. Now Bourne once more. He'll now settle 29 of the machine of Rob Sherwood like bait on a fishing hook, presented by, of course, Pulse Poppers. He's down to the inside. He'll carry now Smith with him below in the turn 4.
A penalty. We're going to have to figure out what exactly happened, but Zach Peterson was given an EOL penalty for whenever we have another caution for the 96. As we continue to watch the battling for 5th position, Caleb Smith and others trying to slice and dice, but they're able to single file out for the 2nd. But for 30, they're continuing to stay. Here comes, oh no, contact, Cootie, also Smith. Whoa. Smith bumped up once again. Andrew Cootie bullying his way up into 6th position.
Wow. And what a save can you mention for the driver of that number 12, Caleb Smith. Scoring ticker down on the bottom. A lot of cool things coming. The Upper Edge Racing Series and the Smallblade.com Big Block Model October 5th. I'm excited to be one of the people a part of that. Hey, you looking for a new ride? Check out Denchel Auto Group at TomDenchel.com. A lot of cool things going on. Amenities that we have made to the broadcast here on your home for sim racing. Closing in on half and Bourne. Eventful moments there. There is also Tanner Johnson and Spencer Best. This is in the back of the pack, if you will. Inside the top 15 best battle on the racetrack.
Yeah, for 10th place that we were watching, you got that as Zach Peterson leading this small group, and then you got Spencer Best, Tanner Johnson. They're battling for one another as they're continuing to battle along, keeping themselves close. Other challenges that are going on. For 4th, Logan Brakey, he's getting some challenge. Here comes Tom Bourne of the 54. And also, I mean, it's just great battling for the top 5. You've got the battle for the lead of Grant and Ross Tatum, as well as the
Grant and Tatum going at it for position. And while that goes on, Tom Bourne and the Andrew Cootie is there. Scoring ticker, not the one from the top to the bottom, but on the upper top of the broadcast screen. Giving you the full field rundown. There is Jake. Winner of the big one, the big race, the long one. 300 miles, 200 lap. And this track, similar, Samuel Dyer, many say to Charlotte, but I still believe it's different.
Yeah, I mean, I think the similar aspects have to be through 3 and 4 between Charlotte and Texas. Those corners very similar, but it's Texas on turn number really interesting. A little bit of a drop on the banking, so it allows the drivers have to slow up a little bit more and gives shots for the drivers to make passes on the entry of turn 1. Way more for 3 and 4 here at Texas. It's more kind of a build-up corner where you build up your speed so you can tack on the straightaway and make these passes on the front stretch. But we're seeing here now being consistent on every single corner you go to. Otherwise, everyone's just going to be on top of one another. This has been amazing to watch whenever drivers are on fresh tires. But we know as in green flag pit stops, if we get to green flag pit stops, the field is completely going to change on who's going on different tire strategies and who's going to be making that early and undercut pit stop.
A long way to go. And you see Jacob Grant, Pillsbury, momentum. There's still a long way to go, though, Samuel. This race.
And for a lot of these drivers, I think they're aiming for around those that did not take tires for themselves. They're going to be aiming probably around lap 5 to make their next pit stop here, and then their next one will be around lap 35, around that window. So expecting the pit window to be here when drivers are thinking about making their pit next stop. And for the drivers that pitted on their last caution, a lot of them might be aiming for around lap 100 to make their next stop for themselves, hurting them if you have to pit later. But we'll see how these different strategies work out. Kind of similar to the way that Charlotte was going, with drivers deciding to undercut the extent that it could go, and other drivers just running their own race and landing right in the middle of both those strategies. As up front, we're watching the battling that's going on for 4th place. It's going to be Breaky going to be falling back, and for Tom Bourne, he's on the fresher tires than the 2 drivers that are battling currently, and no surprise that Tom's making this to it. Logan Breaky makes every driver work for every position.
Oh, our producer cutting up for that.
Now it's the question of when will we see the drivers make their pit stop, as other battles that are going on track. We're starting to see the collection of cars that were battling strong earlier in this run of Rob Sherwood, Cootie, Smith. They're now starting to fall back to the clutches of that of Tanner Johnson, Zach Peterson, and Spencer Best. We're starting to see our 6th through 11th on top of one another.
Closing in on halfway, we rest our voices as we extend picking the asphalt pavement here at Texas. Yes, sir. They rip around Texas. Gotta love that sound, Samuel Dyer.
Oh, it is always nice doing kicking some asphalt, hearing the drivers just ripping around these courses, and I'm loving it. This has been some great, clean racing action for these last couple of laps, but man, did we get to see a little bit of that surge on our last race start of 15 laps of drivers just attacking one another for that 5th place position. And still, even for the lead, Jacob Grant, Ross Tatum is not letting him just get away.
Who let the dogs out?
My dog is angry about something outside.
Battle going on this position. You got the front runners, they're winners. There is Jacob Grant, Tatum, 1 and 2. Altus sitting back in 3rd. Bourne in 4th, Breaky 5.
right now, watching the battling that's going on. This is what's going on for 7th and 9th place. I mean, 7th, 6th, and 8th all battling along with that of Rob Sherwood, Andrew Cootie, and Tanner Johnson. Side by side is that battle for 7th. Tanner Johnson trying to get by Cootie, and Andrew Cootie's got a little bit of right side damage after making contact with Caleb Smith earlier in this run. I'd be wondering if that damage is affecting him in any way here later. As drivers thinking about pit stops, especially for that of Jacob Grant and Rob Sherwood, Logan Brakey, Andrew Cootie, and also Spencer Best. They have not pitted. And speaking of pit stops, here's Pop Smith getting their service done and getting back out there for Chris Smith.
Pits. Some are pitting. Second half of this race. Samuel Dyer, Wesley Outlet here with you. Charles went into the production chair. You know what Lamar Homes are? You know what that is? It's Lamar Homes. Same.
Lamar Homes? No.
Yeah, Lamar, right there. Lamar.
Lamar is certainly plastered on that 48.
It's Lamar Home. They're a home building come inside.
Just continuing to be side by side. Tanner Johnson, Andrew Cootie. Finally, Johnson going to be making that pass and securing it. But Cootie, he's going to do a little bit of a crossover move, trying to make the inside line work, and he's right back to the inside. Andrew Cootie, even though he's dealing with some COVID symptoms, tested positive earlier this week. The 48's still running strong. That's what's great about virtual racing, is if you've got the strength to still race, you're away from everyone else, you can still race virtually here with everyone.
Top 2 winners on the series, and then you got Smith. Only 3 winners here tonight. 3 of the 5 winners present. Everyone else. Probability is better for one of these drivers that are non-winners to possibly punch their ticket and win. And missing Braxton DeWeese. It seems quiet, Samuel, without Braxton DeWeese in the field tonight as well.
Yeah, it does feel weird. Not saying the fan favorite Braxton DeWeese is not here in the field. Usually at this point, I think Braxton would be moving his way up, being up in the top 10, especially at this mile-and-a-half courses. We usually see early on him backing off and then making his charge forward. Speaking of backing off, that's Jacob Grant. Looks like 52 into pit road for himself, and cleanly into pit road is Jacob Grant from the lead to now getting his pit stops done. Following suit is also going to be Logan following and Cootie, and that whole entire group of drivers I was talking about that needed to think about pit stops. They went as far as they could, and now into pit road for a large amount of drivers.
Pit stops after halfway. Green flag pit stops a lot different than under the caution flag. You definitely don't want to be making any mistakes.
Yeah, the pressure is on when you're making a green flag pit stop, because if you find yourself sliding through your pit box, making any type of mistakes, you are losing time and ground that you're going to have to make up, which means, Brockton Packard, Spencer Best. Packard got himself out of sorts.
Spencer Best.
And luckily, no other contact made, but that is a lockup for the 24. Mistakes that we were just talking about. You can't make those types of mistakes on a green flag pit stop. It could cost you greatly on what could have been a great finish for Brockton Packard and Spencer Best. Now they're going to be set in a little bit further back as you see the replay of what happened coming into pit road.
The pit lane, speed behind him. Calamity, look at, wow, he locked up the tires and coming down pit road hot, speeding on pit road, which he might still get busted for in the Shadow Racing 24, Samuel Dyer. Even though he had that incident with Spencer Best, they might beat it on pit road.
Yeah, the 24 is still on pit road. He is serving his penalty, and you don't want to be served a penalty, especially under green flag racing. This could be putting him now 2, possibly 3 laps down, as Evan Coleman, he'll be getting himself back out on a racetrack, but at 52, a little bit crunched up on the nose. Packard now getting out of pit road, and massive penalty after serving that pit road, a speeding and unsafe pit entry. Keenan Massey now into pit road. Massey, luckily with all the cautions that are coming out, back. Been a tough day with missing his pit box. Missing the grid, put him a lap down. It's been a recovery day ever since the start. And now going to be Ross Tatum into pit road, as we still got 3 more drivers. As Altis into pit road, Tom Bourne, Zach Peterson, as well as Robbie Helms still need to make a pit stop here.
Altis is in, Tatum is in. They've been the front runners, and they've had a pretty decent run. Altis, again, fighting COVID-related symptoms. I've not been under the weather the last couple of weeks. Understanding he also relocated from Winston-Salem back to Virginia.
Yeah, moving while also dealing with COVID symptoms is not the best scenario to be putting yourself into. And luckily for Altis, he's recovering well, and he's trying to get himself back into normalcy for himself. And been showing a lot of speed for the 94, as we are on board with Zach Peterson, waiting for him to come into pit road. Still our top 3 needing to come in. Tom Bourne making his move into pit road. Tanner Johnson bobbing and weaving. Peterson, for Tanner Johnson, he was not expecting that closing rate to happen as quick as it did. And see Tom Bourne into pit lane. Now Robbie Helms into pit road. Peterson, he's got to figure out when he's going to come into pit lane of Caleb Smith.
Peterson, what a job for the 96. Could tonight be the night? Oh, he's onto the pit lane. So much for that. Hashtag fake news. Here he comes.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Luckily didn't do a Brockton Packer, held on, but wow, is that a squirrely entry, and now got to keep our eyes to see if he's going to be caught speeding. Bending penalty goes to the 96. If he's on pit road any longer than 15 seconds on his pit box, and we know that this 96 got a pit road speeding penalty. Getting service done currently, and we're hoping we see Peterson taking off, and he will. No penalty. The only driver with a penalty goes to that of Brockton Packard. Comes to a close. Wesley, still one more pit stop here tonight that we're expecting. Right. Pit stop at right when the window opens. That's going to be around lap 140 for a lot of these drivers. If you pit sooner than 138, I would say that you're too far back from making that final pit stop, but we're expecting a lot of these drivers to be able to at least make it. Any further than that, you might have a shot to have fresher tires and run down the rest of the field. We've seen if you have anywhere from 5 to 10 lap fresher tires, you can fly through this field. Jacob Grant, Logan Brakey, and Ross Tatum are top 3.
And what a moment it would be for Logan. You see the 2 car. Samuel, if he could win, just take it into the playoffs right now.
Yeah, Logan comes in 8th in points, but kind of in that window of 75 points as his buffer back to Robbie Helms. So felt very comfortable, especially with Helms having kind of an off day. Logan Brakey, just by showing up and running this race, and could have been a start and park, would have already locked himself into the next round based off of points. But there are a lot of drivers coming into tonight that, with the poor showing of Robbie Helms and Keenan Massey, Brockton Packard, and also the no-shows of Christian Gardner and Kevin Martin, Eric Stamp, Rob Sherwood, Logan Brakey, Joshua Altis, all those drivers feeling comfortable that they might, just by showing up here today, might automatically lock themselves into the playoffs next week, which would leave us with 3 spots that are going to be in a position of might lose, 3 spots that are open on who can get into the playoffs based off of points.
Rob Sherwood, there you see him right here. Looking good in that DraftKings entry number 29, just patiently in the top 5.
Rob Sherwood coming into today, best finish was 4th. for that team. So trying to best that currently is Ross Tatum up to second place. And Ross Tatum, 2 wins this season in the middle of our regular season. I thought Ross Tatum, when he was winning those races, he was looking like the best driver out there. But then just some little slip-ups started to happen where he still had the fast race pace for the 21, but just those pitch strategies started to hurt the 21's finishing positions. And for Ross Tatum right now, second place, not a bad spot, and we know he is climbing with a lot of speed. That last time by ran about a little bit over a half a second faster than that of Jacob Grant. Ross Tatum is coming, and he wants that lead quickly.
And, of course, Tatum redeeming himself after being caught up accident earlier in the evening. Sitting comfortably in that numbered position right now. Let's be honest here, Samuel. There's still a lot of racing left to go. This is not done yet. This is far from over.
Oh, absolutely. And it looks like an unscheduled stop is that of the 12 of Caleb Smith into pit road. And Caleb Smith is parking it for the day. He is no longer going to be racing for the rest of this night. Caleb Smith is done. Our first DNF by the 12.
It just seemed like night was just not a good night for Caleb Smith. He has struggled all night long. Bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, he looked good on our last restart that we had and was battling for that 5th, 6th position, but just mistakes coming in. And, for that of Caleb Smith, luckily he already won. He won at Sonoma under a very dramatic fashion of lead lap drivers being taken out and kind of was gifted the win for the 12. But with that win, he's locked into the playoffs. So it's okay that he's backing out and not going to be finishing out here at Texas.
Johnson, there you see the 11. He's right now a solid top 10 contender. He's in 8th on the racetrack. COVID symptoms. Andrew Cootie right there. A good run for him. In front of him in 8th and 7th.
Yeah, Tanner Johnson missing about 2-3 races after a quick hiatus for himself. Just needed a break from virtual racing for a bit, and it's turned around pretty great for the 11. Tanner Johnson, one of those drivers we usually see who's battling for a top 15 finish. Now up in the top 10. He's shown pace to be up in our top 5 at moments, and now with equal footing of that of Andrew Cootie, he's trying to make the pass for 7th. Currently is Andrew Cootie, one of the more aggressive drivers I've seen of late, recognizing that he needs to get wins, needs to be aggressive. And for Andrew Cootie, talked to him before the race started. His goal kind of was to have a solid finish here today. Make sure that he can be at least inside of the top 20 in points after tonight's race, and then try to go for the win next week. We go to Daytona next week. I mean, that is such a wild card of if you're the driver that's 12th in points going into next week, you do not feel comfortable that you're going to be making it out of the playoffs unless you see a lot of other drivers making mistakes and hoping that you've got teammates around you to help, because it's kind of been the switch up of this season is drivers having to pick and choose as we're watching the great battling for 7th place. The battle for the lead now underway. Ross Tatum. Oh, Cody! Contact between himself and Tanner Johnson. Wreck happens, and Ross Tatum takes the lead right when the yellow happens.
Holy cow. Oh, caution is out as well. Tatum's going to hold on to the lead, but boy, Andrew Cootie's not going to be happy with Tanner Johnson.
Ugh.
Tatum does not maintain the lead at the time of caution. He will fall back to 2nd. And watch this. Into the left rear. We saw this earlier tonight as well, Samuel.
Yeah, I mean, you could just see Johnson felt more comfortable getting back onto the throttle, which pushed the car up, and Cootie did not get on the throttle as soon as Johnson was expecting. Contact between both those drivers, and that is a hard lick for the 48, and I'm not sure if he has a fast repair left for himself as the leaders come into pit road.
Cars onto the pit lane. Could this be, Samuel? Money stop.
No, this is just a little bit too far out. Again, I think the window for that money stop going to be around, if at the furthest you can go, possibly 139 laps. That might be the furthest window that you can go for these drivers. But I think for a lot of these guys, around 140 is the window for that money stop. But certainly right now, you got an extra set for a lot of these drivers. A lot of them, they still got one more set after this. So taking fresh ones now. So that final pit stop, they've got an extra set. It's Jacob Grant going to be taking the lead out of pit road. But on track, it's Zach Peterson staying out for the 96. And he just came over the radio. Zach Peterson, miscommunication for himself and the crew. He'll be coming into the pits this time by. Thought that everyone was staying out, and he was now notified. Nope, everyone came into pit road.
Commercial break. We'll send it. More coverage. Appalachian Hauler Hunters in the SNB Cup Series when we were on LSRTV. Zachary Peterson already coming down to the pit lane. Backmarker cars now making stops.
Look at that. Look how wide that deer is. Oh my God. Oh my God. He's down. He's down. Hold him up first, huh? Can you hold him up? Son, what do you think about that? After me.
Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, right? Our Ram trucks, truck of the year, amazing trucks. We have fun Jeeps, and then the exciting Dodge and Chrysler products. Lots of performance there, lots of excitement there. They've done a great job in really creating a full scope product line that could suit everybody's needs. Whether it's a family vehicle or a fun vehicle or a utility type vehicle or a big truck, we've got it all for our customers.
Lights are off for the pace car. This time by. One to go into Samuel Dyer has stepped away for just a moment. I'm Wesley Outland back here with you. Charles Wooten in the production chair as well. By the way, don't forget, coming up, part of our double coverage Wednesday night TV. Join us with coverage later tonight of the cooking or the outdoor cast iron cooking, the outdoor cast iron cooking 100 from the Montreal road course in Canada. That is the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Coverage beginning tonight, 25 Pacific. That's 11:25 Eastern Time. 8:25 Pacific on your home for sim racing, LSRTV, and simulcast on the Community Radio Network at wearecrn.com. From Texas to some road course racing. Be a good one. Samuel, getting ready to come back for the restart. What do you think we're going to see these final 50?
Yeah, it is going to be a blast to see how these drivers attack these final laps. Again, we're expecting one more pit stop from here to the end. So drivers still aren't out of the woods for themselves, but certainly we're expecting some great hard racing here late in the race. I already have seen one DNF, that'll Caleb Smith, but we'll see who else can survive here tonight at Texas.
So the field will make their way back at O'Reilly Auto Parts restart zone. Green flag goes back in the air. Grant will pull away on the inside. 2-car links back is Altus. Tatum up on the outside lane. They work way down to the bottom. Brakey is there. A run for these cars. A little slice it and dice it as they work off 2. down the back straightaway. Breaky, Sherwood sizing up Tatum for that spot into 3.
Drivers all throughout the field are recognizing on these restarts you can gain a lot of positions, get aggressive, as we're seeing Tanner Johnson and Keenan Massey side by side. Keenan Massey falling and losing ground. Tanner Johnson up to 7th for himself. We saw him get aggressive with Cootie that brought out our last yellow. Those two right on top of one another again.
Top 3 single file. Everyone else now 2x2 till you get back inside the back of the top 10, then they fan out single file again. Johnson, there's also Sherwood after Breaky. Now Thorne is after Altus in 3.
Bourne trying his best to make the pass here for the 54 on the 94. And Jacob Grant trying to get another win for himself. Jacob Grant, I mean, what a season it's been. It was a really rocky for those first 6 races of the season, but he is starting to pick it up when it matters here late, coming to the playoffs, and playoffs are going to be a madhouse. We've been looking at what the schedule is going to be for these next couple of races. You've got talent. You got Daytona coming up next, and then you've got yourself Martinsville to start out the playoffs. That is going to be terrifying for all 12 drivers that make it into the playoffs. But as we're seeing the battle for that of 4th place, Rob Sherwood, Logan Breaky side by side as they go into turn number 1.
And that goes on back into the corner. Side by side, Breaky on the outside, Sherwood inside. There goes the logger car. Look at Rob Sherwood just weaseling in there in front of Breaky and who that was.
I mean, you kind of just have to throw the car there and hope that everyone else reacts to you at this point. You're stuck in a spot where you got to get aggressive. If you want a shot to win this thing, get yourself, can't lose too much positions. As we've seen, it is very tough once the tires are built up their heat, and it's tough to even make any passes later on into these stints. As Tom Bourne trying to set up that of Josh Altus to make a pass for 2nd place possibly.
Field comes across the line. Look at this. Look this. Grant back out in front. Altus is there. 1 and 2. Bourne right now, ready to pounce to the corner.
Altus trying to set up for the lead, and he's got that momentum, and everyone's just squeezing up, and it's like an accordion in the middle of the corner. Jacob Grant, he looks like he's standing still. They almost went 3 wide for the lead on the front stretch. Oh, Tom's thinking about it. Tom is thinking about sending it, but just thought better. Didn't want to ruin his race or Jacob's race. But they were thinking about going for the pass, possibly 3 wide. Tom Bourne blinks once again, comes back. What an issue it's been all race long for the 54. Also saw a little bit of blinking issues for Logan Breaky. Both those drivers still hunting and hounding for a win. I know the driver that wants this win the most out of all these guys has to be that of Tom Bourne, outside of the top 12, top 20 in points. Needs a win if he wants to make it into the playoffs. But then you got Altus looking for his win. He's been one of the more consistent drivers, been up there with Matt Dyer on drivers that don't have a win yet, but still looking fast. And then you've got Logan Breaky, who's just behind Altus. Both those guys been so consistent, both with 8 top 10 finishes this season, trying to get number 9 and possibly their first win of the season if they can get a good finish here at the end. We're watching the guys.
Off of turn 4, here they come. Sorry, Samuel. A little lag there for a second. It seemed like Grant. Altus is back. There goes Bourne. Breaky. There's Tatum. 1st and 5th are winners on the series. They punched their ticket into the playoffs. Tom Bourne up to second after a suspension. Incidents with Thomas Fisher and a couple of other drivers. Could we see a comeback story? I know he's still got the net code issues, but could we see the possibility of Tom Bourne win this race?
I mean, it's highly possible. I mean, Tom Bourne, he's lingering in the spot that he needs to be in, second position. And right now, I think the goal is to see what has Jacob Grant been doing. Has he been lingering back, trying to save those tires, or has he been aggressive and trying to pull away? It seems like a lot of the guys right now, if once you get into about 15 laps to 20 laps into a run, which we're coming up to, that's when you start to see who really is going to be staying up front and who's going to be dropping back to the clutches of the drivers back in 10th place. Currently right now, Jacob Grant, he has been looking smooth, same as Altus, but it's Tom Bourne with his internet woes that have been kind of questionable if he even has a shot here with the way drivers have to race around the 54.
Turn 3, Altus inside. Bourne is there. Brakey closing in. And Jacob Grant 3-car links back as they come across the start-finish line. 2-car links now. All real. Let him in. Here they come like bait on a hook. That's looking to the lead.
That was exactly what I was touching on, where turns 3 and 4 is kind of a momentum corner that you build up so you can try to make a pass going into turns 1 and 2. Altus, he's on the inside. He's exactly where he needs to be, side by side for the lead. And here comes Tom Bourne, who's thinking about forcing it 3 wide.
Whoa, a little contact there. I got a feeling, Samuel Dyer, there's a storm brewing. There's now 5 in a blanket. Up the racetrack, Jacob Grant. Altus is there. Bourne to the inside of Brakey. So is Tatum off.
That's the third time that we've seen Tom Bourne try to force it 3 wide, and just there wasn't enough space for him to even try to turn through the corner. Made contact with Altus that made that whole entire 3-pack group kind of disperse from one another. And now Logan Brakey on the outside. That's gonna be a tough toll for Tom Bourne to try to get by the 2. Brakey going to be forcing the issue, trying to burn off as much rubber to Tom Bourne and trying to make sure that that 54 does not get a win here tonight, and hoping that Tom doesn't make it into the playoffs. Has to be a lot of this field, as Tom has been fast. He hasn't gotten a win so far this season, but always a threat at almost every course we go to.
That comeback story, that undying spirit to try to make something happen. They're fan back out single file. Lap 137 of 174. Not over yet. Still possibly a money pit stop coming up. Will it be under green flag, or will we see another yellow flag? Altus now off Bourne for the second spot. Brakey behind him off 4.
Looking at the last times, we'll see once they come across the line this time. But Tom Bourne was the fastest that last lap. This time around, it's going to be still Tom Bourne, one of the fastest drivers out there, the fastest of this lead group that are running in 4th and 5th position. And you're seeing it now. Logan Brakey to the inside, trying to make a pass on Tom Bourne. And it's going to be Ross Tatum build that momentum up as they get underneath Bourne. He's about to lose a lot of time and ground, hoping there's no contact as they're running hard out of turn 4. Also, with them coming across the line, they are in the window of making it. If they pit now, they are for sure going to be making it to the end of the race. But this means that this is when we could be seeing some drivers thinking about pit stops. And as I talk on that, Chris Smith, Papa Smith, coming out of pit road for the 55.
And the dogs are out again. Off of 4, back to the start finish, Brakey in Bourne. Tatum. Look at top 10. He's in 6th. Outside the top 5. Lap 140 of 174 on the board. The clutches of the home stretch here at Texas. And Jake looking now. Samuel Dyer for 2 in a row. Charlotte last week. And, of course, the Indianapolis win as well.
I mean, it's looking good for Jacob Grant currently, but that question mark of when is going to be over everyone's head unless the field's been on complete save mode since the restart. There's got to be a lot of question marks of fuel, who's going to take tires. If you're going to take tires, you got to think about pitting with possibly 20 to 25 laps to go in this race. You can't wait for 15 laps to go. Not enough time to gain up and catch the rest of the field.
Our producer, him, is predicted for the remainder of this event. Wow.
I mean, if no one pits, that is incredible. For around 40 to 43 laps. We saw at Charlotte, Matt Dyer able to stretch it out to around 50 laps when he was on complete save mode from the start when they went green. I'm looking at the field, and there's not a lot of drivers possibly have been saving enough to do that strategy. But if anyone's going to do it, it might be back of the drivers from 10th on back, being led by Andrew Cootie, Spencer Best, Eric Stamp. They might be thinking about some odd strategies. And we know that Evan Coleman and Matt Dyer usually are the brains of that team to figure out the different pit strategies and fuel runs that they can do. Possibly Evan Coleman might be some time by staying out and saving fuel from the start of that last restart, but I know the 51 has some heavy damage. That's another reason why he's running slow currently.
Tatum up against the wall there off 4. Back straight away into that third turn, Logan Brakey. Ross Tatum in that mix. I'm down to 3. Man, Keenan Massey really impressed me as well, Samuel. I mentioned him just a moment ago. Cars are on the pit lane. Tom Bourne is pitting. Money stop in the 54 with under 30 to go here in Texas.
Yeah, it's Tom Bourne be coming into drivers. We're going to be about 10 to 16 laps short, so you knew they were going to have to come into pit road at some point. I like this call from Tom Bourne, and I like it even more. This strategy coming in, but he's blinking. Don't be scaring us that much. Ross Tatum now into pit road. Oh, excuse me, that's right. Keenan Massey into pit road with that of Tanner Johnson.
There's Spencer Best. He hasn't yet. Here they come. Massey on the pit lane. Majesty, number 4. Majesty Massey. Tanner Johnson in the pit lane. The 11 all Toyota onto the pit lane. And here he comes. They'll go to the finish from here. Lap 147 of 174. Just flop those numbers around, and that's with a
biggest goal right now has to be stay out there for Tom Bourne, also for Tanner Johnson, and for Keenan Massey. Hope that the rest of the field continues to stay out as Evan Coleman now into pit road. As the longer that field of drivers stay out, the more that they have to try to run down Tom Bourne. But they're banking on the fact that this race stays green, because right now Brockton Packard first car lapped down, and I take that back now. Evan Coleman and Brockton Packard looking at the field. You don't want to be the car. You don't want to be trapped a lap down after making this type of a call, because if a late caution comes out, it could change the road.
Moody redeeming himself after being involved in an accident earlier. There's Altus in 9. Second, third, they're running down Grant. No change in the top 3. 5 to go at Texas. They're back.
And Tom Bourne able to make the pass on Brockton Packard. So Tom Bourne is the first car 1 lap down. So if a late caution does come out, use their last set. A lot of these drivers still have 1. Some have 2 sets left. You got to pick and choose. Jacob Grant now into pit road. Almost contact between himself and Altus. And also Logan Brakey following suit.
He'll save it.
Now we wait for Altus, Ross Tatum.
Grant on the pit lane. Money stops continuing, Samuel Dyer. Here we go.
Altus are staying out a little bit further. When they stay out, keep themselves within 25 to 20 laps in that window to go, then make that final pit stop. I'm loving this call from that time to run down the drivers that have already pitted, and they're going to be on so much older tires. You can easily make that pass late in this race, but you got to bank on the fact that also when your steam comes out, you're even in a better spot. So I'm liking what we're seeing from the 94 and the 21.
Tatum 1 and 2, Sherwood and Peterson. fast in the top 5 now. Cycling through what is green flag pit stops. As we approach 20 laps to go, coming up here this time by. With Altus and Tatum, Oxa off the corner. Lane!
Ross
So
Tatum.
we're thinking Samuel, we're thinking Altus. He's going to have to pit. Maybe Sir Hims, Charles Wooten, was wrong on his prediction.
These drivers can only go for another about 9 laps until, which is going to be putting that of Altus in a spot where he's going to have to come to pit road. Tom Bourne unlapping himself as here comes Joshua Altus.
Altus on the pit lane. Back round, it looks like for Peterson to be the leader. Boy, oh boy, what a turn of events this could be for the 96.
And Zachary Peterson, as well as Sherwood, Best, Stamp, and Helms all still need to come into pit road. Tom Bourne would be gifted the lead, and right now Grant's got about 3.4 seconds between himself and Tom Bourne, and both those drivers have already unlapped themselves. It's looking good for Jacob Grant, along with catching up to Tom Bourne quickly here. Spencer Best now into pit road, as we're still waiting for our top 4 to coming in. Rob Sherwood, I'm surprised he's staying out as long on a caution, hopefully to come out to save these drivers. As if you're staying out this long, you're gonna have to be figuring out when you're coming in.
Sherwood down on. No, he doesn't. That's hashtag fake news. He's not pitting yet. Sherwood not in yet.
Woo. Eric Stamp, got to be careful as a little bit of 3 wide racing for Altus trying to unlap himself, as he's trying to catch up to that of Peterson and also Sherwood and out. And currently being still left a lap down is that of Ross Tatum. Ross Tatum needs to figure out how to unlap himself quickly as he's longer this goes on. Again, the furthest that we can see Rob Sherwood go is going to be about 160 to 162. That's the limit that we're expecting to push it out as far as possible, banking on a yellow to come out.
And you notice he's getting slower and slower. You see him getting by the lap car. He'll put him back on the lead lap. The 11 cars. We await Sherwood and Peterson, Stamp and others. Helms to come to the pit lane. It will cycle on a break. We're going to go side by side so you do not miss anything. And we will bring this race to the checkered flag, actually, is what I've just been informed. As Sherwood's still the man out in front.
Sherwood, again, it's our top 4, still need to come into pit road, but Tom Bourne, it is less than a second and a half. That is the battle to see who's going to have the lead once our front 4 come into pit road. And Tom Bourne, Jacob Grant, Keenan Massey, Tatum, all in our top 10, all unlapped themselves currently. 7 Coleman in 13th, who's the first car 1 lap down. We still Peterson, Stamp, and Helms coming to pit road. All 4 of them thinking the same thing, banking on a yellow to come out.
There's Jay Grant, back straight away there. Cycle back around to put him as the leader if he can get around Tom Bourne. But there, as we would say unofficially, would be the leader of this race right now. Body pits, Tom Bourne in the 54. He is in front. There is Grant. Logan Brakey in third. He's 7th on the racetrack right now, but there you see him. Game of cat and mouse continues. They are, and he's right within a cat's whisker of Grant and also Bourne. Cars on the pit lane. It's the leaders. Sherwood is in. Peterson is in. Helms down to the lead in 18. That won't be for long, though.
Helms going to be the only one staying out of that large group, but still side by side for second place. Jacob Grant, Tom Bourne. Tom Bourne's not going to be giving up this position again. This is what could be for first place, provisional first place. If Grant currently ahead, making it clear, and the 52 now trying to just pull away and get his 2nd win in a row, 3rd of the season, if this race stays green.
Go down, make it now 12 to go when they come to the stripe. Jacob Grant to the lead as Helms comes down to the pit lane. The 18 car. There they are. 1 and 2 for the lead off turn 2. It's now
Jacob Grant doing everything that he needed to take the strategy he made last week at Charlotte, just putting himself in the best spot, be up front, and pit just in between the drivers that are undercutting those fuel window, and he's got the perfect balance once again. Jacob Grant, when we get into these fuel and pit stop strategy races, this high five machine has won Indy, one of the biggest fuel mileage and pit strategy races to start out with. Then last week at Charlotte was another pit strategy call that got him up front. Grant trying to get his third win of the season in very similar fashions to how he has won his last 2 wins so far this season.
10 laps to go next time by here at No Limits, Texas, and it is time to No Limits. But by the way, Grant ground over Tatum. And of course, Bourne. Tatum behind as well. Brakey also on the leader. It is Jacob Grant's race to lose as here at Texas. He has been the man to beat Charlotte last week, Samuel. What a performance for the driver of the 52 car.
Yeah, and I'm looking, the race couldn't be still a little bit up in the air. We're watching out for Ross Tatum as well for Josh Altus. They are putting down some extremely quick times. It's kind of a slim shot, but if they keep up the pace that they're going, watch out for the 21 and the 94. They might be trying to sneak away and take this third win away from that of Jake.
Tatum inside of Brakey there. They go to the back straight away. That's for position. And Tatum, Brakey, Altus, bottom of the racetrack. Altus to the inside. Here, Brakey. That's for third or fourth.
Yellow! Yes, brings out the caution!
Wow! This changes everything. ECE at Texas at No Limits.
Spencer Best just got...
This is what happened.
This is just an odd wreck because Spencer Best, he'll just pull it to the inside, come to a complete stop, and that's what brings out our yellow. It is one of the weirdest yellows because he pulled it down by himself.
Would that be intentionally bringing out caution flag, Samuel?
I mean, the admins are going to have to figure out how to call that, but Spencer Best has already left the server, and oh boy.
He's up at 8,000 RPMs, over 8,000 RPMs. Watch the tack on the telemetry there. Slows.
Then he climbs back up, and he's trying to get back into the throttle, and then it just gets into the wall, and he...
Is that a tranny issue, do you think? Was that a tranny that broke?
Something might have broke there. The driver's coming into pit road.
I mean, because the thing is this. It looks like he had some type cause the RPMs to drop down as rapidly as it did. It wasn't as random as just slamming on the brakes.
It kind of looked like, though, he just let off and then just got on the brakes and said to call it quits. There wasn't any puff of smoke as if the engine just went on him. So that's why I'm thinking he just called it quits on his own after getting into the outside wall.
Everybody coming down to the pit. I'm here at Texas is now extended. And they are going in and they are going for the gusto, Samuel Dyer. Business in the Lone Star State virtually.
Well, if the race ended when we initially thought the the race extent was going to go, but because we extended it out from 167 laps to 174 laps, we are now in this situation where it is up in the air. We've got our sit under this yellow. You've got our top three, multiple laps on their tires. That of Ross Tatum, Joshua Altus, as well as Tanner Johnson. They're going to be sitting ducks to that of Stamp as well as Robbie Helms. And then behind them, who just pitted and got their freshest set of tires, Jacob Grant, Tom Bourne, Logan Brakey, and the rest of the field behind them. Wesley, I think based on the aggression we saw in the middle of the field, the middle of this race, I see some drivers doing some very reckless things. a possible chance to lock yourself into the playoffs. Tanner Johnson, he comes in to win if he's going to be making it into the next round. You've also got that of Eric Stamp, Zach Peterson, Robbie Helms. They are all in the same strategy of you do not want to go into Daytona not knowing where you're at going into the playoffs or not.
Ready for a shootout here. This should be good. By the way, our producers, we are still in the regular window of the regular scheduled distance, so we are looking at possibly a 3-lap shootout. Gets back underway right now. Also, there is still 3 attempts if necessary. Here, another lap. 1 to go this time by. 2-lap shootout, but it again, Samuel, is in the regular scheduled, not overtime yet.
Yeah, into regulation, green, white checkers here tonight. So if we include if a yellow comes out before the white flag, though, we're going to overtime racing where we've got multiple attempts if needed.
Yes. Actually, no, correction. And this series has multiple attempts. The series have 3 attempts. There's multiple attempts in this series.
Believe that is the number.
Is it just 3 attempts?
It's just 3 attempts if needed.
About to say, it's the race that will not end,
Limited overtime. We got another broadcast later tonight that we got to get to.
Got tight. Spencer Best says that it is official, Samuel. You called it. Got tight. Car tightened up. Hit the wall off too. And just simply gave that if he just point blank says, hey, I did it.
It's still, though, ran out of yellow. That's something the admins are going to have to come out because he could have quit. But instead, we got ourselves inside the regulation. Green, white, checkered.
It's going to be a showdown in the Lone Star State of iRacing, Texas Motor Speedway. Green back in the air. Pulling away. Look at Johnson right back there again. Best is there. Way.
Side by side for second place, but here comes diving it down low. Zach Peterson, he's trying to force his way through. Ross Tatum, he wants the white flag as they're side by side.
Oh, Grant
comes out. Altus spinning and wrecking.
He gets crashed. Altus crashes. Some of the contenders of the night crashing out. Samuel, they went 4 wide. My goodness.
Here's your Pulse Poppers instant replay that puts us into overtime. It's aggressive racing. Jacob Grant trying to get his way through, but it's the 96 in front of him that makes the daring move, going 3 wide. Are packed like sardines. There's no space, and contact going to be made. Eric Stamp into Altus, and there goes Grant.
And got collected also. He had contact from the 52 on the 4.
Yeah, it was contact on Robbie Helms on the 18 that lost his nose.
Okay. Wow, man.
But these drivers, you got to hope that they still had a fast repair to utilize coming into pit road. Going to be Helms as well. I was expecting more to come in, such as Altus, but Altus is still creeping around on the outside. Oh boy. Well, let's try 3 chances if needed.
This is just attempt number 1. Meet up. We're heading to overtime.
Oh man.
This race is scheduled 174 lap. That.
Look, gonna be a lot of laps that we're gonna be tacking on.
First attempt of 3. Remember that.
Yeah, first attempt of 3 if needed. If we get a yellow before the white flag on this first attempt, we'll go into attempt number 2. Flag, get a yellow before that. We'll go into our 3rd and final attempt where it will be either raced under yellow or we finish the race or we're racing it to the checkers. It's going to be a thing out, but The drivers are certainly in precarious spots. Ross Tatum, who was leading this thing, got a great launch. He's going to have to do the same exact thing again. He's 22-lap-old tires. Then he's got Rob Sherwood and Zach Peterson behind him, both 13-lap-old tires for themselves. Then in fourth place, you've got that of Tanner Johnson. You got Eric Stamp, who's on 13, and just coming in behind them from about 6th back to 10th are drivers that pitted under the previous caution to this, who had fresh rubber. Everyone else getting some repairs done for Jacob Grant and Packard, and using his final set of tires. Going to be Robbie Helms back in 13th, but he's a little bit too far back to really have a shot to challenge the drivers in front of him. Really, I think that Rob Sherwood as well as Zach Peterson, they're in some of the best positions for themselves, but Logan Brakey, Tom Bourne, they're feeling that pressure that they want to get up front with the freshest of tires of the drivers here to challenge for.
So here is how overtime will go. As me and Samuel said, multiple attempts. The field will come to the green flag. When it does, the leader takes the white flag. Race is the CRN1 to go. Race is official. However, if the caution comes out before the leader takes the white flag, take 2 and 3. If a third attempt is made and they crash again before the white flag, wreckers or checkers, the race is considered official. That about explain it, Samuel Dyer? Lights off on the time 1. Next time by here at Texas.
We're going this time by. Time for the drive. Get themselves strapped up, ready to go. Some drivers needing to have great points days if they want a shot going into Daytona next week. But here tonight could be punching someone's ticket that's outside of the top 12 or inside of the top 12 into the playoffs, taking that pressure off going into the next week of Zach Peterson, who's in 3rd, Tanner Johnson in 4th, Eric Stamp in 5th place, Tom Bourne in 7th, Keenan Massey in 8th, as well as in 9th, Eric Coleman. Need a win if they want to make sure they are for sure going into the playoffs. Otherwise, they've got to figure out how to point their way in next week.
Boy, oh boy. Overtime. This should be fun. Attempt number 1 about to go down. Ready for the pace car. Yes, sir. Ready for the car to drop onto the pit lane. Remember, if not, we go to overtime, attempt 2. Green flag is out in the first one. We're back to it again at Texas.
Zach Peterson got a great launch for himself. He's up to 2nd. He's got fresher tires, and he's already back on the back bumper of the 21. Watch him in around number 2.
And here comes Rob Sherwood there as well. They're zigging and zagging like ping pong balls.
They're 3 wide
down
for the lead.
To that 3rd turn. Back for the lead in the middle. Sherwood. Tatum on the inside. Peterson to the outside. Look at the making the line. CRN1 to go. This is it. They're going to get 5 cars into the grass. Sideways. Crashing into the wall.
Here comes Jacob Grant.
On this race is not over.
It's going to be Peterson wrecking. Here comes Logan Brakey. Here comes Logan Brakey on the inside.
Jacob Grant back in the battle again. Sherwood up the outside. He will hold him off. He'll hold off Grant. First time winner of the French. Oh my goodness. What have we just witnessed?
Somehow squeaking away contact between himself and Jacob Grant, but they hold on, and it's going to be Rob Sherwood getting his win, as that whole entire first and only attempt we needed was dramatic after we got that white flag.
One we will never. They stick it 3 wide for the white flag.
Coming to the white.
You're exactly right. For the white flag. Warren get wrecked right there at the bottom of the racetrack. What the hell? That car flew through the air like a ping pong, like it was on a top. And then look at this one. Peterson and then Tatum, they wrecked Samuel Dyer.
Absolutely not. Logan Brakey, he's got to be finding the speed on the inside, making a little bit of contact, but he touches the apron that gets him loose. And then Jacob Grant just body slams, which gave enough space for the 29 to make the pass for the lead. And Brockton Packard would have gotten second, but made contact with Grant, finishing out in third.
Welcome to Sherwood. And Rob Sherwood punched his ticket in to the playoffs. The number 6 seed will next different winner on the series. He will join DeWeese, Tatum, Grant, Smith, and Fisher. And now it is Rob Sherwood. Playoffs just 2 races shy before it begins. What a lap, what a last lap at Texas Samuel get.
No, and a lot of our competitors that needed to get points to close up the gap from that of 10th in points back to 17th in points has just closed up even more. Next week is going to be dramatic on who's going to get the win, and points-wise, who's going to point their way in, because with Rob, with this win, he is locked in. No pressure going into the next week at Daytona, but certainly everyone else from about 10th in points back, the drama or be a part of the big one next week, because it is going to be ruining your chances.
One more race next Wednesday night of the regular season, then it's on to the playoffs. And that will be. Here is your unofficial results presented by Sawblade.com. Rob Sherwood is the winner. Jacob Grant right there, spinning, sliding, crashing, settle for second. Brockton Packard third. What a season run for him tonight. Evan Coleman as well fourth. Robbie Helms, problems and all, get involved in that last wreck out. He finishes in the top 5. Keenan Massey with a great run. Altus falls back to 7th. Chris Smith, what a run for him. Top 10. Tanner Johnson, Tom Bourne, crash and all, will finish 10th here at Texas.
Yeah, a couple of notes of the drivers that were inside of the top 10. Keenan Massey, he started out by missing the grid, was 2 laps down, finishing 6th. What a great rebound for himself. And for Papa Smith, Chris Smith, best finish of the season, 8th, his first top 10 of the season. But in 11th, that's when we find Andrew Cootie. He did his darndest with trying to recover from being tested positive for COVID-19. He is certainly okay with surviving in 11th place for himself, but I know he wanted a top 10 finish. Zach Peterson, Logan Brakey, Ross Tatum, Eric Stamp, Spencer Best, and Caleb Smith. Spencer Best and Caleb Smith did not finish this race. They DNF'd early, but everyone else, drama and sparks were flying there at the end.
And Rob Sherwood, 6th different winner on the season, punches his ticket in to the playoffs. We will holler at him, the other drivers, when we return with coverage from Texas. LSRTV Cup Series presented by Appalachian Hauler Hunters. Welcome back to coverage from No Limits, Texas. SNB Cup Series, penultimate race of the regular season. And what a race it was, down to the end. A wild overtime shootout. And when it's said and done, Rob Sherwood punches his ticket to be the 6th different driver to win a race this year and go to the playoffs. I'm Wesley Outland, Samuel Dyer, alongside Charles Wooten, the production chair. We hope you've enjoyed it. We will talk to Rob Sherwood in just a moment, but we will grab the rest of the top 3 as well. Brockton Packard, this is got to be like a win for you, bud, for Shadow Racing. 3rd here tonight. Your take of the race here in Texas.
Yeah, man, it's a rough track, man, to say the least, and it was a rough race for the 24 crew, but we rallied back with like 50 to go-ish. We were 2 laps down, and then we got the wave around on that last caution before the green-white checkers started coming out, and then coming to the white flag, we were 11th. And I was like, well, maybe a top 10, get some points, but top 3, man, it's the 2nd top 3 of the season, 2nd top 3 of my SNB career. Couldn't be happier getting it at my last race in Texas, at Texas. So I had to run my high school going to college scheme. Hope everybody had a good time. And man, it was a wild last lap.
Yeah, I mean, Brockton, you certainly had to put on a show to cut your way through the field to get this 3rd place finish. But we saw coming out of 4, you had a shot for 2nd. What else could you have done to try to get by Jacob there?
You know, maybe use the grass as he got really loose. It was weird coming into that first dogleg, just got wicked loose and came down into us. But, you know, it is what it is. I'll take 3rd and we'll move on to Daytona and try to get the win there.
You mean Talladega?
Oh,
What is Talladega going to be like next Wednesday night, do you think, Brockton? And do you feel like you got a shot to win the race and go to the playoffs?
You know, I feel a win would be nice, but at this point, we're just trying to finish. With the package as it is, it's probably going to be single file till the end, and maybe a little bit of fuel strategy. So we'll try to link up with some teammates and get Shadow Racing, kind of like High Five did in Daytona last few weeks. But we'll see what we can do. A win would be super nice to close the regular season off and start the playoffs with a hot streak, but we'll see what we can do.
Sponsors, bud, good job.
Yeah, man, gotta thank Agent NASCAR for making all these great paint schemes on the Shadow Racing squad, Matt Moreau for giving me the chance to drive, of course my parents for helping me fund the racing, and of course college, that's a big deal. Gotta thank my beautiful girlfriend for supporting me and loving me, and you guys for putting on a hell of a show every week. Gotta love y'all, and of course the man, the myth, the legend, Rob Sherwood for putting on this awesome league.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, Rob, I'm sure would again winning the race, but this is like a win for Brockton Packard for Shadow Racing. He'll finish 3rd, carrying high hope going in to the final race before the playoffs at Talladega next week. 2nd place going to Jacob Grant. He won in Indianapolis. He won at Charlotte last week in the long 300-miler, and the High Five Racing entry number 52 will settle for 2nd, getting caught up in a wreck. Fast repair in overtime. You race, you send it, you're coming after Packard and Sherwood, and just wild last lap, if you will. Jacob Grant, what was it like being in the cockpit? They're 3, they're 4 wide. You're bumping, you're banging, you're gouging, trying to win your 3rd win, 2 in a row. You'll have to settle for 2nd, but man, you're in the playoffs.
I'm happy I got 2nd. I'm extremely happy for Rob. I've been sending him motivational quotes all week, boost his confidence and stuff, and it looks like it paid off. But man, am I disappointed. I had that win in the bag, 10 laps to go, 20 parks it on the backstretch. I mean, call it what it is. It's BS in my opinion. But hey, what can you do about it? 2nd place felt great. That last lap was insane. I seriously didn't think I was going to be able to get back up there. Watch Tom go through the grass and take out Eric Stamp going into turn 1, and then I had so much fresher tires than everybody else in front of me. I was able to get down to the white line and stick it down there. Steen Logan had a huge run down the backstretch. I went down to try to block him. He just kept going down and down and down, and then he luckily he backed out of it just enough to where it didn't wreck all 3 of us up front, and then me and Rob made contact, and I was for sure that me and him were going to wreck, and then whoever was behind us was going to sneak a win. So it was a very fun, interesting race. I think I led the most laps tonight, which is always good. So we'll just go on to Daytona next week.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob, it was a great race for you. And looking at the mindset, I know you felt like you had that race won, but with that late caution that put us in a spot with 10 laps to go, how did you have to change your mindset there late in the race?
All or nothing. It was either go for the win or wreck the whole field. So, yeah, I'm in the playoffs. Yeah, I have 2 wins, but the more wins I get, the more playoff points I get. If I can get the most playoff points that I can, then I can almost guarantee locked into the next round. So,
Jacob, what do you think Talladega will be like next Wednesday night, final race of the playoffs, bud?
Daytona is going to be pretty insane. The draft package is.
I'm sorry. Let me hold you. Is it Daytona or Talladega?
It's Daytona.
It's Daytona.
Talladega's in round 2.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
Yeah.
Daytona. Hey, it's still a super speedway. It's going to be a hell of a show.
Same draft package. They race the exact same. So, but it's honestly, I don't even think it's going to be a show. It's going to be whoever can get out front and stay out front. If you got your teammates with you, then you're gonna dominate the race. If you can get out front and stay out there, then you're gonna. That's just the way the draft package works now. So unfortunately, there's no tandem drafting. There's no pushing somebody to the front. There's a like a car length or 2 of air in between you and the guy behind you and in front of you. So it's whoever gets out front and stay out front is more than likely going to win the race with no mistake.
All right, Jacob. Thank your sponsors, buddy, for High Five Racing. A good run today as well.
I'd like to thank Tight End Loose Off for always being on the car as usual. AZ Wire and Cable, they support me week in, week out, work for them. So their paychecks they pay me are lovely. Everybody who watches, girlfriend, all my friends, everybody, thank you so much. You guys, and that's pretty much it.
Jacob Grant, 2 wins this year. Going for 2 in a row, runner-up tonight here at Texas for High Five Racing of the 52. To victory lane we go. What in the world is that ice cream music playing? It sounds like the instrumental for Sesame Street. Rob Sherwood, congratulations to you, bud.
Hey,
in victory lane, into the playoffs.
Yeah. I felt like I had a good chance before this and on points, but man, to know that I'm automatically in now, it feels so good. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Rob, a great charge there in the late stages of that race. You were kind of set up in the right spot once we restarted on that green and white checkered overtime attempt. But what else? What was going through your mind when you saw everyone going 3 wide, 2 wide, being bumped around in that last corner? What was going on through your head there?
Honestly, if somebody was going to wreck, I just kind of figured I would be caught up in it. But it was tough because I had my teammate to my outside and Zach Peterson, and he had a really good run tonight. I was proud of him. Ross had one of the best cars all night. I knew Jacob was coming behind us on fresh tires. I knew that any place there was a hole, he was going to put his nose, and that's what we saw that last corner. And going back and watching the replay, I saw Ross drift up. And it looks like maybe Logan got a run on Jacob on the bottom side. And once I was able to get underneath Ross, I think Logan tried to stick it in underneath Jacob. They got loose. I think there's a little bit of net code between Jacob and I, but we touched a little bit. And I don't know if he was trying to save it on the apron or what he was doing. But honestly, I just kept my foot in it. I said, you know what? I'm either going around or I'm coming out and winning this race. So, yeah, what an incredible last couple laps.
A very eventful event, man. You settle yourself in for this event. And in the playoffs, Daytona, crazy last lap. Just give us your take of this, and knowing that whatever happens, you're going to race for a championship here in 2 weeks.
For me, it feels great just because right now, the way our point system works, the higher in regular season standings you finish, the more playoff points you accrue. And so not only do I get playoff points for the win, but I really needed a bounce back week after last week. I'm racing around Ross and Logan Breaky right now in regular season points, and they both gapped me pretty hard last week with Charlotte, a rough run. So with my runs at Daytona, or just actually plate tracks in general, I'm just thankful that I'm not relying on a top 5 finish there to lock my way into the playoffs, and that I know anything that happens next week is just, it's in the bag already. So we're just going to go out there, and it's house money at this point. Which, speaking of house money, DraftKings.
Yes, yes, I know about DraftKings. Yes, sir. Yes.
So thankful that I've got DraftKings. Kind of gives me something to do as a hobby every once in a while with my buddies, and thankful for you guys. Obviously, every week on the broadcast, you guys do a fantastic job, and love working with you guys. So thank you for being here with us every week.
He will punch his ticket tonight into the playoffs for Season 3 of the SNB Cup Series. Of course, that's the driver of Rob Sherwood. He is in the playoffs. Daytona next week. We put a closing chapter on Texas. Samuel Dyer, always a pleasure. Work with you here in the next hour. What is your take of what we saw tonight at Texas? It's no limits. It's going to be hellfire and brimstone virtually at Daytona next Wednesday night. All bets are off.
Yeah, no, tonight it certainly were no limits on where drivers trying to place themselves. Everyone knew you got fresh rubber, trying to grab every position possible. But once we got that white flag, really the gloves were off. Everyone was smashing everyone else. Kind of give us a little bit of a sense of what the All-Star race was like for a second there. But an absolutely dazzling race. But here tonight, it just makes me more excited and more amped up on what we're going to see next week. Like we've heard from some of the drivers, it's about getting up front, finding your teammates. And teammates is going to be the key thing to talk about next week, as that draft package is all about getting drivers in line, staying smooth, and hoping you're not a part of the big one.
It should be a good one. Always a pleasure. We'll do it again next Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, LSRTV, with coverage of the final race of the regular season at the Virtual World Center of Racing at Daytona. For everybody at Rocket Media, for Jeff Stabnow, for Charles Wynn in the production chair, for Samuel Dyer, I'm Wesley Outland. Congratulations again to Rob Sherwood, punching his ticket in to the SNB Cup Series presented by Appalachian Hauler Hunter playoffs tonight at No Limits, Texas. Be good to one another. Please keep on praying for America. And always, also, please stay safe out there. Don't be getting sick. We'll see you next Wednesday at Daytona.